He laughed until it wasn't funny anymore. It started like every other night. Four of us in a Discord call, Minecraft running in the background, SkyWars queue popping every few minutes. We weren't trying to be pros or anything. It was just our routine. Win around, throw around, laugh, talk about nothing, repeat. We weren't even thinking about it as a group. It was just us. And then Ryan joined. Not randomly, someone invited him. He was a friend of a friend. We'd seen his name in a server before, but he never really spoke much. The kind of person you barely notice until they're suddenly there. "Yo," he said. His voice was quiet, slightly delayed like his mic was too far away. It didn't sound like he was nervous. It sounded like he was careful. We all said hey back. Nothing weird, just normal. We loaded into a match. At first, it was actually fun. Ryan wasn't bad, not cracked, but solid. He didn't talk trash, he didn't scream when he died, he just played. We made jokes like we always do. Someone said, "Ryan's definitely the main character." Someone else said, "Nah, he's the NPC." Ryan laughed. A small laugh, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to laugh. We took that as permission. That was the first mistake. Because once a group thinks they have permission, they stop checking. The first few days, Ryan blended in. He wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the funniest, but he was there. He stayed. That alone felt like a good sign. Some people join a call once and disappear forever. Ryan didn't. Every time we won a match, someone would say, "Ryan carried." Every time we lost, someone would say, "Ryan sold." It was stupid. Typical gamer talk. He laughed either way. And that's the part that makes this story dangerous. Because when someone laughs, you assume they're okay. We assumed. One night, we were running duos, me and Ryan on the same team. We spawn on a tiny island. I grab blocks, he grabs armor. All normal. We rush mid. Ryan builds a bridge a little too fast, places one block wrong, and slips. Void. Instant death. In the call, we all reacted like it was the funniest thing we'd ever seen. "No way! Ryan just donated his life! Bro, what was that?" Someone made a soundboard noise. Someone laughed so hard they wheezed. Ryan laughed too. But it wasn't the same laugh as before. It was shorter, like he pressed the laugh button because that was what he was supposed to do. We didn't notice. We kept playing. At the end of the night, Ryan said, "Good games," and left. Normal. The next day, he was back. So we kept going. That's how small habits grow. A joke becomes a label becomes a role becomes a trap. Soon, Ryan wasn't the new guy, he was the guy who falls. Even if he played perfectly, someone would still bring it up. "Careful, Ryan, don't fall again." "Ryan, stay away from edges, bro." We thought we were being funny. We thought we were bonding. But what we were really doing was taking one mistake and turning it into his identity in the group. And the thing about identity jokes is they don't stop when the person improves. They stop when the group gets tired of the person. And we weren't tired. We were entertained. A week passed. We played almost every night. Ryan started talking less. At first, we assumed he was just tired, or shy, or maybe he was multitasking. But it got noticeable. We'd ask him questions and he'd answer with one word. "Yeah. Maybe. Sure." His laugh changed too. It used to sound real. Now it sounded like someone tapping on glass. One night, I remember, we were in a match and Ryan actually clutched. It was clean. He did a perfect block clutch, got a kill, and won the fight. We all yelled, "Okay, Ryan! All right, Clutch King!" For a second, it felt like we were finally giving him a moment. And then someone said, "He did it once, don't let it go to your head." Everyone laughed. Ryan laughed. But then he went quiet again. After the match, he didn't celebrate. He didn't say GG. He just queued up again like the win didn't matter. That was another sign. We ignored it, because ignoring signs is easy when you're comfortable. You don't want to interrupt the vibe. You don't want to be the serious one. You don't want to be that guy. And that's exactly how groups become cruel without meaning to. It's not some dramatic villain moment. It's a bunch of small choices that feel harmless. Then one night, something happened that I still replay in my head. We were on a win streak, 5 wins in a row. Everyone hyped, loud, cocky. We get into a match, mid-fight, chaos. Ryan is bridging to a team. Someone shoots him. He panics, places blocks fast, and falls again. Void. And instantly the call explodes. There he goes again! Of course, Ryan is allergic to staying alive. Then someone said it. Not even screaming, not even angry, just casually. Why do you even play with us? The call went quiet like someone pulled the plug. Ryan didn't laugh. No sound. We could hear his breathing. Then he said, very quietly, I don't know. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a speech. Just 2 words, but they hit harder than anything. Because for the first time, it sounded like the joke wasn't between friends. It sounded like a question he'd been asking himself already. No one knew what to say. Someone tried to laugh it off. Nah, bro, we're kidding. Ryan didn't respond. The match ended. We went back to the lobby. Ryan stayed in the call for a few seconds and then left, disconnected. We sat there in silence for a moment, and then someone said, he's just tilted. And that's how we protected ourselves from feeling guilty. We labeled his feelings as tilt, because tilt is normal. Tilt isn't serious. Tilt means it'll be fine tomorrow. We queued again. We played without him. At some point, I opened Discord and typed, "You good?" No reply. A few minutes later, my bad if that was too much. Still nothing. I told myself he'd answer later. He didn't. The next day, we hopped on again, same time. Ryan wasn't there. We played anyway. After a few matches, someone said, "Ryan dead?" Everyone laughed. I laughed too. And then I hated myself for it. Because the laugh came automatically, like a reflex. That's how normalized it had become. That night, I messaged him again. Hey, you on today? No reply. 2 days passed. No Ryan. A week passed. Still nothing. The jokes about him stopped, not because we learned, but because he wasn't there anymore to be the target. And that's the part I didn't want to admit. The group felt lighter without him. Not because he was annoying, but because we didn't have to think about what happened. We didn't have to feel awkward. We didn't have to look at the consequences of our humor. We were relieved. And that relief is the scariest thing, because it means the group can hurt someone and move on like it was nothing. Eventually, I asked the friend who invited him, "Yo, what happened to Ryan?" There was a pause. Then he said, "He's not doing great, man." I asked what he meant, and that's when I learned what we didn't know. Ryan didn't have many friends in real life. At school, he was that kid people talked to only when they needed something. In group projects, he did the work and got ignored. At lunch, he sat with whoever had an empty seat. Minecraft wasn't just a game for him. It was where he felt like he could be part of something, where he could laugh, where he could belong. And we took that place and turned it into another room where he felt small. My stomach dropped. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say, we didn't mean it. But meaning doesn't erase impact. We didn't mean it, but we still did it. The friend told me Ryan stopped joining calls because he felt like he was always messing up. He felt like he was the joke of the group. He said Ryan had started muting himself more and more, even before that night, like he was preparing to disappear. And then he did. I couldn't stop thinking about that moment. I don't know. 2 words, but they carried the weight of someone trying to fit in and failing. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because we made him feel like he wasn't. A couple weeks later, Ryan finally replied. Not to the group, to me. A single message. I'm fine. Just busy. That was it. No anger, no blame, no "you hurt me," just a polite lie. And that's how you know you really messed up. Because when someone is angry, they still care enough to confront you. When someone is polite, they've already decided you're not safe. I typed a long apology. I wrote paragraphs. I explained, I admitted, I said I was sorry. I stared at it for 10 minutes, and then I deleted most of it. Because I realized the apology wasn't for him, it was for me. I wanted to feel better, so I sent something simpler. I'm sorry for what we said. It wasn't okay. You didn't deserve that. He read it, no response, and I had to accept that I wasn't owed one. After that, SkyWars felt different. Not because the game changed, because I changed. Every time someone fell into the void, I felt that little burst of laugh rising in my chest. And then I remembered how it sounded when Ryan tried to laugh along, how it sounded like he was forcing it to survive. I started noticing things I never noticed before. How quickly groups choose a target, how jokes get repeated until they become truth, how silence gets interpreted as fine, how fine is often just, I don't feel safe enough to speak. I started noticing how often people say, it's just a joke, like that phrase is a shield, like it makes anything harmless. But it's just a joke doesn't mean anything when you're the only one being laughed at. That phrase is only comforting to the people who aren't bleeding. We didn't think we were doing anything serious. We thought we were just being funny. But being funny is not the same as being kind. And the worst part is, we weren't monsters. We weren't evil. We were normal. That's why it's scary. Because it means this can happen in any group, any friend circle, any server, any chat. It doesn't require hate. It just requires comfort, repetition, and a target who keeps laughing so you don't feel guilty. Ryan laughed until it wasn't funny anymore. And when he stopped laughing, we finally heard the silence. I still play Minecraft. I still joke. I still laugh. But I'm more careful now. Not in the walk on eggshells way, in the check the room way, the is everyone laughing or is one person surviving way. Because when you're in a group, it's easy to think the loudest laugh is the truth. Sometimes the quietest silence is. If you're watching this and you've ever been Ryan, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve to be someone's punchline. And if you've ever been in my position, if you've laughed along because it was easier, please hear me. You don't have to be the serious person all the time, but you do have to be the aware one sometimes. Because one night, one sentence, one joke can be the thing someone remembers when they decide to leave, and you might not even notice until they're gone. He laughed until it wasn't funny anymore, and when he stopped laughing, we finally heard the silence.